Okay, so I guess we are good to go. Yeah. Welcome everyone. This is Arnama Chatterjee, and I welcome you all for our session on Introduction to Git and GitHub. It is truly amazing to see such an enthusiastic audience who's eager to dive into the world of version control and collaborative coding. In today's session, we will be demystifying Git and GitHub, which are essential tools for today's modern developers. Whether you are a seasoned coder or just starting your coding journey, understanding version control is crucial. We'll explore the fundamentals, benefits, and practical aspects of using Git and GitHub in your projects. It is my pleasure to introduce you all to our speaker today, Tamal Das, who is currently an SDE at WorkDuck and has an extensive experience in working in the world of open source. So without further ado, let's get started in this part of today's session that we are all waiting for. Over to you, Tamal.
Yeah, hi everyone. So, am I audible? First of all, can someone write it in the chat?
Uh, could you speak a little louder, Tamal?
Wait. Yeah. So, am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Yes. Yes, you are. Cool. Hi everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining the session. So, first of all, let me just share my screen. It would be much better. Just let me know when my screen is visible, right?
Yeah, yes, it's visible.
Cool. And I guess you all can see me too. Hi everyone. Cool. So, today's session is primarily focused at understanding Git and GitHub. There's a lot of things going on with Git and GitHub. People, when I was in my first year, even I was confused because it's really a tough topic to just, grasp your head around when you were just starting out. So, first things first, let's see, first I'll just let me introduce myself. Hi, I am Tamal. I am a product engineer at WorkDuck. I am an open source enthusiast. I generally contribute to open source projects, building web apps, front end, back end, extensions, and stuff like that. And I'm also a content creator, so I try to document my tech journey. So if you would follow me on Twitter, you would see different pieces of tech things that I generally post. That's basically what I generally do day to day. So I just keep posting those. It's kind of exciting and amazing to see people actually like those things. So that's what I generally do. So let's understand what we will be covering in this session, right? So first of all, we will try and understand Git. Let's understand what Git is, how Git works, and why it is even needed in the first place. Second, we will be understanding GitHub. Is it the same thing as Git? Is it not the same thing? It's different thing. And we'll just cover each and everything about GitHub. Once that's done, I will show you out some basic Git commands. I will make myself a project. I will just show you in a very basic way that you will understand, okay, these are some commands that you need to get started with. And once that's done, I will take you through a development workflow so that you understand that, okay, how things actually work in industrial level. So with that said, the chat is open. If anyone has any doubt, if anyone has anything to ask, feel free to write it in the chat. I will be very happy to answer those. Cool. First of all, which year are you from? I am from 4th year. Sad my college life will be ending soon, but yeah, koi na, hota hai. Chalo. So first of all, let's understand what exactly is Git. I saw many people say in the chat that they don't understand Git. Why Git? I'll be coming to that very soon. So how many of you know what is Git? Just write in the chat. Let me see. How many of you know what Git is? Just write why me or something like that. Me. Why Git? Cool. No. Me. Nice. Git is basically a version control system. Exactly. I know. Great. I participated in Hacktoberfest. That's really awesome. Cool. I see a lot of people don't know, a lot of people know. So after this session, let's see how many people gets on the same track, how many people understands the concept in full details, right? So Git is a distributed version control system or a version control software. Now, if you notice this, global information tracker, damn. If you notice this word distributed version control software, like फर्स्ट ईयर में अगर हो गया ना तो ये बहुत भारी सा वर्ड लगेगा, मतलब क्या है इतना बड़ा वर्ड. So if you would like to break this down into three different parts of distributed version control and software, right? So first of all, let's take out one part one by one, and then let's understand it just like that. So what is distributed? See, in very short, distributed basically means that a project out there which is in the cloud, it has some local copies in your local machines too, which basically means you can work on those local copies offline. You have some permissions, you have permissions to fetch those updates, and you can work even if you are not on the same network, right? That is exactly what distributed means. पहले क्या होता था, in central control system you have one single repository in the cloud, you have one single project in the cloud. You need to have a consistent network 100% of the time. You will pull those updates, you will update it and commit it, that's all. You will keep doing this over and over again. मतलब तुम्हारा इंटरनेट अगर चला गया तो खत्म उधर, तुम काम नहीं कर पाओगे. ठीक है, तो तुम्हारा जो कोड तुमने किया अब तक वो सेव तो होना दूर की बात है, वो कुछ नहीं होगा वो तुम्हारा. So that's exactly what central control system is. You cannot see who changed what. You don't have a full history, right? You can't see, okay, आज से 10 दिन पहले किसी ने change किया था. You don't know that. That's the problem with central version control system. But with the distributed version control system, you have a local copy of the full repository inside of your local machine. As you can see here, you have the full local copy in your machine, which means you can commit to it and update to it from local to workstation. This part exactly. You can commit it, update it whenever you want, even if you are offline, right? This will work. And when you need to push and synchronize it for others, then only you do the push and pull. It needs internet, obviously. But this whole thing is offline. You can do those offline, right? That's the power of distributed version control system. That's what basically distributed means, which means you have a full copy. Now imagine this main server, tomorrow a hacker comes in and this main server just blows away. It's gone. Khatam. So in central control system, what will happen is if this goes away, you are left with nothing. Your product is gone forever. You can't do anything. But in distributed version control system, because you have a local copy of that same project inside of your machine, now you have the power, even if this is gone, this is corrupted, you still have a backup. You know that, okay, this is my latest changes, let's push this to production. So that's what exactly the word distributed means. It's distributed in various forms and it's easily accessible, and you don't need an admin sitting there 24/7 giving everyone permission, revoking permission, so on and so forth. It's very easy to access. You can make branch, you can do whatever with it, right? So that's exactly what the word distributed means. I guess what the word distributed is now clear. The next thing is version control. We have understood what distributed is. It means that, okay, I have a project, that project is easily accessible, I can make branch, I can do whatever. So now what this word version control means. So simple सा मतलब example. अपने phone में तुम लोगों का अपना Play Store है, you install apps, right? So whenever you install something, you see that, okay, this is Twitter version 14 point something, version something, right? That's exactly what version is. In version control system, meaning of version is very simple. You maintain the version. You keep track of all the version. Like on August 31st, I released version 7. August 15th, I released version 6. So I can go back in history anytime. If I need to visit on version 5, I can go back to this particular date. I can go back to this particular commit and I can check, okay, these are the changes that I made. So that's exactly what version is. You keep a track of all the changes out there, right? You know what you change, you know the number of people, you understand what people change. Let me also show you a good example of this version so that you understand it better. If I come here, let me show you something. These are not exactly what you call version. These are known as releases, but it's almost the same as version. If I remove my picture to this side, cool. You can see, let me just go back into releases. Yeah. So as you can see on August 8th, we had a version 0.15. And because of Git, I know that all these people added something. Someone called Karthik added something, someone called Divyans added something, Piyush added something, Anmol, Banwal added something, so on and so forth. Right? And this version changes every time. Every time we are having a new version. If you go to your Play Store, if you get yourself a new app, you will again see that version. That's exactly what Git is, and that's exactly what version is. And if you don't want to use Git, you are free to just keep on Control Z, Control Z, Control Z in case of any errors. But if you have Git, you can literally go back in history. How cool is that? You literally go back in history, you take whatever you need and you can come back. That's the power Git gives you. It keeps a track of all the changes that you have been making. That's exactly the word version control means. You have a particular version, and if you want, you can revert back to some older version. That's the power of Git. Cool. Now the last thing to understand is software. So if you understand this part, it means you have understood the whole Git, right? You can install, Git is an open source product, right? It's installable in any operating system. If you have Mac, if you have Windows, Linux, good to go. You can install it literally anywhere, and you are free to do your creativity magic. Cool. So now I guess you all have understood what version control system or what Git is, right? In very simple words, let me revise it again. It's a distributed version control system. Meaning, तुम्हारे पास एक प्रोजेक्ट है, प्रोजेक्ट में कल को किसी ने कुछ चेंज कर दिया, you can go back in history and revert that change so that your project is not bad anymore, right? You know who changed what. As I showed you, you can now see, okay, this guy changed something, Tamal changed something, that guy changed something like this. And obviously you can revert back in any time. That's exactly what Git is, my friends. That's all about it. You don't need to dive very deep into it. You don't need to understand each and every details of Git. You just need to put your head around these 3 points, that Git is a version control, distributed version control software, or distributed version control system. That's what Git is. Now, quickly write me in the chat how many of you still did not understand Git and how many of you still have some doubts about it. Quickly write in the chat. Well, looks like no one has any doubts. Cool. That's great to hear. Looks like no one has any doubts. Cool. So, with that, until now we have covered Git. We have understood the very details of Git. We have understood the very basics of Git too. That okay, Git is this and इससे ये होता है. अच्छी बात है. Now, let us understand what GitHub is. So, people in the chat, write it if you think Git and GitHub is exactly the same thing. Just write it. Don't be ashamed, like, because when I was in the first year, I was the same too. So just write in the chat. I really want to see in the chat. कहाँ गए सब लोग? Am I even audible? This is giving me confusion.
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, cool. Looks like everyone is scared of me. Anyways, let's understand what GitHub is. If you are using GitHub something
Hey,
like this,
Tamal.
yeah, go on.
Actually, people are asking you questions in the chat. I guess you are not able to see that.
Exactly. Like the last message I see is something called Global Information Tracker. Wait, I have joined a little bit late. Some people are outside the org. It's possible. Let me see. I can't see the chat. Cool. Yep, now I can see. I have some doubt about the overall concept. Not same, not same, not same. Git is version control and GitHub is hosting platform. So Git is software and GitHub is a platform to use that software. So if GitHub is a platform to use that software, does it means both the same thing? Like if you are using that software. Yes, audible. I have joined a little bit late. Can you get back to a summary of whatever you have told? I'm pretty sure this session is recorded. You can always go back to the session and just take a look at it. Basically, until now, I have discussed what Git is. If you understand what Git is, that means you are already halfway there, right? So that's what I have discussed until now. Just the basics of Git, the very basics of Git. Cool. GitHub is a platform of many Git users. The chat is laggy, exactly. The chat is so laggy that I need to close it and open it every time and every minute. Cool. GitHub is a platform of many Git users. Oh my god. That's the best answer I have seen until today. GitHub is a platform of many Git users. Nice. Anyways, so I'll constantly be refreshing the chat once in a while. So if you ask a question, do wait. Anyways, so if you are using GitHub like this, the same way I used to use GitHub back in when I was in first year. मतलब फाइल्स शेयर करना है पकड़ के डाल दिया गिटहब में दोस्त लोगों को दे दिया कूल बन गया तो मतलब डेवलपर हूँ मैं ऐसा फाइल में शेयर करता हूँ बेसिकली गूगल ड्राइव फॉर डेवलपर्स राइट दैट्स हाउ यूज आई यूज टू यूज गिटहब so and to be honest GitHub is not like that people who said what GitHub is exactly correct it's a platform to collaborate remember in the past if I go back to the previous slides remember how I showed you all? We had a place to store these repositories, right? So you can't just keep these repositories inside your local disk, right? It needs to be somewhere on the cloud. You can't just throw it away in your Google Drive or something like that. So it needs to be there somewhere in the cloud, right? So that's where GitHub comes in. It is a place where you can put all the repositories, you can use that platform exactly to collaborate with each and every users out there. People who are interested in your project can collaborate with you in this platform. That's what exactly GitHub is. There's nothing more to it. It is very simple. GitHub is just a platform for your projects or your repositories to stay and people to collaborate with it. Now, how to collaborate with it? With Git, we are talking about Git, but there are other version control systems too. If you do a Google, you will understand other version control systems. But Git is the most popular one, and we are using that. Again, GitHub is very popular amongst the users since it is owned by Microsoft. Let me just close this chat and open it again to see if anyone has new doubts. Git is then what is GitLab? See, as I have written in the presentation already, it's an alternative to GitHub. GitLab is there, Bitbucket is there. These are different platforms owned by different companies, right? GitHub is a platform. GitLab is also a platform. Bitbucket is also a platform. It does the very same thing. All of these does very same thing. Now, Bitbucket is used in more professional standards because you can assign tasks, maintain Jira lists and all kind of things. GitLab, GitHub, so on and so forth. GitHub is very popular. It's owned by Microsoft and it is very popular. And that is the reason you are constantly hearing about it. So GitHub and Git is obviously not the same thing. It's even owned by different person. So that's the very reason people sometimes get confused about it. But it's not that confusing, as I said. I will also take you through the interface. I will take you through the codes and stuff so that you will be crystal clear about the idea. There's going to be no haze in it, right? So, until now, we have understood what Git is. You have also understood what GitHub is, right? We have the basic concepts. Now we need to strengthen it. How do we strengthen it? We code it out. We take you through some basic Git commands. Let us understand the different Git commands we have. Is lagging. Different Git commands we have, and with that you can understand more and more about Git, right? I will show you some three basic things. I will make a repository for you. I will clone it, make changes with Git. I talked a lot about Git, right? बहुत कुछ बोल दिया Git के बारे में कि ये है वो है कमांड लेना है ये लेना है तो कैसे करना है दिखा रहा हूँ pushing it for others to see on GitHub. You will also see how GitHub is used these days, right? So you will know everything in this session. Let me refresh the chat once again. Let me see if there's something new in the chat. It also gives us a storage or database with Git functionalities. Kind of, true. I won't say it's totally wrong, but correct, almost correct. Cool. So, let me first of all make a repository for you. Zoom it out. Come back to home screen. Internet is pretty slow. Sessions, cool. If we can save our own project in computer, then why are we using GitHub? Okay, so tell me this very same thing. Suppose this is a project, right? This is a project called BioDrop. If I open this is a project, right? BioDrop. Everyone is using this BioDrop. So now tell me the same thing. How? Suppose you have a project out there. You and your friends are doing a group project. You have 10 people in your group. How is those 10 people are supposed to contribute to your project? कैसे कोड करोगे? अगर तुम्हारे गूगल ड्राइव में है या फिर तुम्हारे डेस्कटॉप में है या फिर तुम्हारे लोकल सिस्टम में, if you have the code, how am I going to contribute to that code? If teacher asks, hey Tamal, have you contributed any code to Ashish's project? I will say no, because I couldn't contribute. The code is inside Ashish's local system, so I couldn't contribute at all, right? That's exactly why are we using Git and GitHub. It's a very good question, to be honest. Why are we using Git and GitHub? That's the exact reason. Collaboration. You need to do projects in collaboration when you grow up in big tech companies or open source organizations. You need to collaborate with other developers around the world for a project. Like even in this project, there are like how many? There are 2,500 developers around the world. Everyone is contributing. So if this was in my local system, no one could contribute, right? That's exactly why we are using GitHub. Cool. Yes, we need connection. Exactly. That's the point. Nice. So next thing, let me show you the whatever I have talked until now. Let me just give you a brief of those so that as a beginner you don't get afraid, because when I started out I was very afraid of Git and GitHub, and I spent almost half a year starting in October 2020. Let me just show you. If I go to my profile, this is very funny. 2020 October. I started on 14th October 2020, and I spent this much, like almost 2 months, 3 months, trying to understand how Git and GitHub works. I figured some part out, but then again I wasn't using it that much, right? So Git and GitHub can sometimes be really confusing, and in this October, a lot of people jump right in. Let's be honest. So that's the reason I am here. Don't worry. Let me just make a new repository. This is your GitHub profile. If you don't have these amount of repositories, don't worry. Just come to GitHub. If you don't even have a GitHub, just search for github.com. And again, if someone is asking any doubts in the chat, do wait because I can't see those for some reason. It needs at least 1 minute to appear in my screen. Anyways, if you are new to GitHub, just go to github.com. Their UI is literally amazing. You can see these, right? There's a lot of things that's happening. Let's build from here, so on and so forth. You can just sign up. You put your email right there. GitHub takes you through here. You put up your email, whatever email you have, and just sign up. This is already taken because this is my email and I have already made an account of it. Right? So that's how you sign up with GitHub. Done. As soon as you sign up, you land out here. This is going to be, everything is going to be empty. All of these are going to be empty. It's going to be fully blank. Right? So what you do then? You click on this new. You want to make a new project. Right? Make a new project. I chose this. Let's just make a project known as this workshop. Let's call this project workshop. Project workshop, right? This is public and private. What does it mean? Public means you all know this, right? Even on Instagram accounts are public and private. Anyone can see this project if it's public. Private matlab no one can see except that once you are allowing them to see. That's all. You can skip these for now because these are not something that you need to understand as a beginner. So just select your name of the project, put it public or private. If you are constantly testing, you can put it in private. Like I like to do private when I'm testing different things. If you are not testing, put it in public, create the repository. Let's wait. Let me check the chat meanwhile if someone is saying something. Sign up at github.com. Thanks, Jishnu, for the link out there. Cool. So that's the part of GitHub. Dhyan se dekhna. We have made a project in GitHub, right? But the project is empty. I want a README file or I want a text file which says hello world inside this project. Now, how am I supposed to add the project here? I have a lot of options. I can manually drag and drop a file. But imagine, just imagine, you have thousands of files. You have thousands of files. Are you going to spend all day dragging one by one files? No, right? That's where that's where version control system like Git comes into play. And if you are not convinced, if you just search alternatives to Git, SVN is there, Mercurial SCM is there, Fossil is there. So there is a lot of version control system. मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि life मतलब Git पे अटक गया है. There is a lot of things, right? The most popular ones these days are GitHub and Git, and that's the reason we're exploring this. So getting back to the topic, we have a project workshop, a repository setup. Now I want to add a text file here which says hello world. How do I do it? So just tell me, anyone, how do I do it? Let's see in the chat if anyone has any idea of how we get a text file inside of here. You can write it in the chat and I will be refreshing the chat once in a while to see the answers. I can't see anything. Maybe I am lagging out again. Cool. Drag and drop. Damn. So now imagine this is my project. Imagine this is my project. You said drag and drop, right? Let me zoom a little bit. This is my project. Let's just expand everything. So are you going to drag all these files? Just tell me. Are you interested in dragging all these files? There are like 100 plus files in here. Tell me, are you interested in dragging all these files into your GitHub? I used to drag and drop in my first year too. It was fun, but pull and push, yes, correct. So as you can see, there's a lot of files, right? I can't do those. I can't do it like that. So how do I do it? Very simple. First of all, let me make a new folder. File, open a folder, or let's go to new window. This is my blank new window. let's make a new folder. GitHub files. I will name this folder as new folder as कुछ भी मतलब let's name it as workshop. Oh, I already have workshop. Where is workshop? Workshop. Here is workshop. Delete that folder. And let us now make a new folder. Click on that folder. Select that folder. Let us open that. Right. Show conversations. We have to put are there. Create a code space. But again, if you don't understand what code space is, like take a first year guy and tell him what code space is, like, right, you can't understand even what a code space is in a first year. We didn't even have code space 2 years back, right? It's recently introduced. So code space is not what we are looking at right now. Code space is basically your VS code in a cloud. That's what code space is. In terminal, clone, cool. I will be talking about clone too. It's very confusing if someone doesn't understand these. It's very basic thing, but people again messes up. So the very basic guidance who can provide is not me. It's GitHub themselves, right? If you notice, GitHub themselves is giving you the very basic guidance. If you have done this kind of thing before, I haven't done. I am very new to open source. I am very new. So what should I do? Create a new repository from command line. So GitHub is giving me a list of all these commands. Let's do and just follow these commands blindly. Let's just close this eye, not literally close, but let's follow this very blindly. Copy this one command, come back here, open our terminal. I am in my way. Put it here. Wait for my terminal to load in. In terminal, select the folder and drag the whole thing. Damn. Now imagine you have hundreds of folders. Are you still willing to drag hundreds of folders? Tell me. It's very difficult if you keep on dragging and dropping, right? Anyways, let's just paste the command GitHub gave us. Echo hashtag project workshop readme.md. Enter. What happened? A readme file got created through my terminal, and that readme file has hashtag project workshop. I can write anything. I can write here, hello, hello. Let me just see the chat if someone is asking. Cool. Let me just write something. Hi Saurav. Hi Ashish. Right? So I wrote two different things. Now, what does Git tells us to do next? Git now tells us to run a command called git init. So let's just clear the terminal for once. Let me again refresh the chat. Meanwhile, let's paste that command git init. And if I press enter, what happens is terminal now says us we have initialized an empty Git repository. So that's exactly what happened. An empty Git repository was created. Git and GitHub is not the same, which means if you go back to my presentation out here, go back in the past. I previously told you and showed you this image, right? See this red colored box called repository in your local? That's what exactly got created here. When I ran git init, local repository was created. If I click on reveal in file explorer, you can see a hidden folder called git was created, right? A hidden folder called git. It has a lot of things in here. You don't need to understand these. These are extremely advanced things. Cool. Now again, let us clear our terminal. Let us see what GitHub tells us next. GitHub says git add readme.md. If I open this here, it says changes readme.md. So now in my local system, I have one change, right? Let's again, cool. So in my local system, I just have one simple change. I have just added two names of people I saw in the chat. They are very active, right? So now I paste this command git add readme.md, or I can do something like this git add dot, press enter. What happens is, notice here, the changes went from here to there. It's no longer inside of changes, it's now inside of stage changes. The meaning is my changes are ready. Okay, my changes are ready. If I add something new here, save it, it will appear in the changes again. If I delete it again, it will go away from here. Cool. Meaning I have now, I have these changes, I have added to names, and I am ready to push this to the cloud, right? So let us see the next command. Next command is git m first commit. Let us make a commitment. Clear again this, paste this, first commit. Instead of first commit, I can change the message to say hello to Saurav and Ashish. Right, press enter. As you can see, the commit was made. So remember how I showed you here कि मतलब तुम्हारे पास एक लोकल कॉपी है, तुम एक लोकल रिपोजिटरी में पुश कर रहे हो in offline mode. Even if I didn't have internet right now, this was easily possible, right? It is not in the cloud. If you notice here, if I even refresh this, it is not in the cloud, but the changes are now saved inside my local system. Cool. If I turn on my internet the very next day and then I run the rest of the commands, it will be appearing here. That's exactly what is happening. I am doing nothing. All I am doing is copy pasting. Where? From GitHub. GitHub will give you all the guide you need. You don't need to memorize these. It will be memorized automatically. The more projects you do, the more workshops you attend, the more you share these with friends and discuss about these, you will understand these automatically. The next thing is git branch. Let us make a git branch, but this is not generally needed because we already have a branch by default. Now the most important thing, git remote add origin. This, can you tell me what remote is? What do you understand by the word remote? You have heard of remote works too, right? So what do you even understand when you listen about the word remote? I guess it will take a few minutes for the chats to appear on my screen because I don't know. Cool. Anyways, I will let people guess and write. Like a remote job, lol. True. Local or separate, kind of. See what basically remote is. Remote like cloud, exactly. Exactly. When you are working remotely, someone said, किसने बोला ये? Remote job, Aniket Naskar. So imagine Aniket is working remotely, sitting in here in India. They are working remotely in a company based on, say, North Korea, right? So what he will do is he will pull the changes. He is working here. The changes are going to North Korea. That's what remote is. Same thing is happening here. This is my local system. This is the cloud. How will I know? How will I know कि कौन सा प्रोजेक्ट के साथ कौन सा लोकल सिस्टम को लिंक करना है? That's how we do this. This is the command git remote add origin. I am linking the remote repository in the GitHub with the local thing I have. I paste that command, hit enter, done. All done. Now the last command, git push u origin main. You can skip this for now. Just write git push. Come back here, or for the first time, let's just copy this whole thing, paste it, enter. Let's wait for a while. Let me see the chat again. Remote like cloud, remote access, remote server, admin. It's not admin, right? GitHub, yeah, there's a concept of admin, but it's not exactly what you are thinking. Remote basically means access है. गूगल ड्राइव में मैं ये रिकॉर्डिंग अपलोड करके दे दूंगा तो वो भी तुम लोगों का रिमोट एक्सेस हो गया ना. So that's what remote is. So as you can see here, git push, I pasted that command. Now it says everything is gone from here. Now see the magic. I come here, click on refresh. As you can see, readme file was created. Hi Saurabh and hi Ashish. That's what the workflow looks like. That's how we integrated Git and GitHub. Don't worry if you didn't understand this. Don't worry at all. You need to go through this twice or thrice to understand fully about it. Right? It's not that easy. If it had been that easy, it would be very easy. So take a look at the UI and understand what we did right here. Go quickly, put it out here. So let's again close the chat for now. I'll be opening it later. Cool. Bhaiya, what extensions should I have in VS Code for this? There is a Git extension for VS Code, I suppose. Let me check. Yeah, there is just a Git graph. There's no such extension in Git VS Code. You can ignore these. These are not needed. VS Code by default has source control. Okay, so you don't need extra extensions. Don't worry. Cool. So हम लोगों ने क्या किया? We made a local folder. I showed you, right? I made a local folder. Then what I did is I also made a GitHub repository out there. Then with the help of Git, I pushed those changes from my local machine into the cloud. Now, if I come here, Control C, if I paste this link in the chat, right, you all can go and see this. This is not just for me. You can go and see the changes that I made. You can see in one commit, I made that changes. That's the possibility, that's the power of Git and GitHub together, right? And don't worry, I pushed it to GitHub. If you are an expert or if you know, you can easily push it to GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, other platforms, right? It's almost the same thing, but again, GitHub has more features. That's the reason we use GitHub more. Cool. So let us again focus on the commands that I have used. You see the 6 commands here. It's the same thing that we had here, right? Git init. We initialize the Git repository with Git init. Let's close the chat. For now, I'll open it later. Git init. I initialize the Git repository in my local system. Git add. I readied my files. If I come here, come to readme. If I come here, yep, here, Git init, Git add. That means, what does it mean? I readied my files. My files are now ready. I can make a commitment. How to make that commitment? Git commit. That's the message. This M means message, and you can put anything you want here, right? This is what meaning of git commit. You made a commitment. Git branch. You can make your own branch. I will talk about this branch concept later on. But for now, let's just understand Git branch makes your own branch. That's all. Git remote. Know what to push, right? That's what I did here. Git remote at origin. This is the link. This link, how do I get this link? Simple. Come to this code here. Open it out. Come to code. Here is the link. Alright. Here is the link. If I paste it here, this same link. Alright. So that's the origin. This is the origin. Right. My local system needs to know that how am I gonna push it inside of here. Right. That's the part of it. Finally, git push means push the changes. Right. It's that simple. Don't worry if you are getting confused right now. It is not that easy, to be honest. Even when I started out, I was very confused. So later on, when you do these, you will have a homework. You all have a homework. The homework is very simple. Make yourself a repository like this. Listen properly. Make yourself a repository like this. Add anything. Add anything. I don't care. Add hello. Add your name or add my name. Add whatever. Right? Add whatever you learned from today's session. Push it into GitHub. Copy that link. Share it on Twitter. Tag me. Share it on Twitter. I will be revealing my socials a little bit on, but that's your homework for today. So until now, I have shown you Git. I have told you what GitHub is. The video is freezed. My video is freezed. Hello. Can someone confirm if my video is still freezed or?
No, no, it was laggy for a bit. Now it's okay now.
Cool. Cool. Seems like my network has some issues. Anyways, so we have covered three important things out of four. I have showed you what Git is, distributed version control system. What GitHub is, platform for your projects. That's all. Basic Git commands. I have showed you all the basic Git commands out here. These 6 basic Git commands are more than enough to get you started. And finally, we will show you a development workflow. What is this development workflow? This is a little bit advanced stuff, but I will just show you so that you understand how things work, right? बहुत कुछ तो बता दिया, ये नहीं दिखाऊंगा कि मतलब ये कैसे काम करता है तो मतलब फायदा नहीं है ना. That's why I am showing the last part, a development workflow. Suppose I told you about branch. If I come to my project, click on here and let me hide this. Hide this or not hide this. Cool. If you see here, you see so many colors, so many things going on. Now notice properly. If I go up, click on main, right? This is the main branch. Main branch meaning this is my project and I have so many people contributing to my project. What they will do is they will make a branch. How will they make a branch? This is how they make a branch. Git branch. They make a branch like this. They made a branch known as revert 1047 or code cleanup. This is the name of the branch, right? The name of the branch was form updates, issue 1039. These were the name of the branch, created by someone called Shubham Singh or someone like that, right? They made a branch. They made changes. How did they make changes? That's how. They committed it. They added the files. They committed the changes. That's how they made the changes. And then finally they merged the changes into my main branch. So in production level, big organizations and companies, that's how everything works. There's a lot more things out here. There's a different concepts. There are like thousands of, believe me, there are thousands of GitHub things and Git things you can do. I already have. That is so cool. People are doing this. Let me just check this. Right. Okay. Someone shared their GitHub project. That is so awesome that people are contributing and making their own GitHub projects. What is this? Copy link, homework completed. Cool. So I guess people are really active out here. So what to do next? Very simple thing. Practice Git, explore more commands, do the homework, and tag me on my Twitter, and I will share in the socials. Don't worry. You need to do the homework before the next session that comes up. Cool, right? What will be coming up? We will be talking about open source. I will show you different contributions, different open source contributions, and again I will show you how you can earn money, get swags, and much more. You can get a lot of things from open source and a lot of things from Git. Cool, right? So that's how you connect with me. I will again, I think I should write this. I forgot to write this, I guess. Let me just Control C, paste it for convenience. You can take a screenshot. This is my username. Tamal Codes is my username for all of these three platforms. And if you want a cool way to land there, Go to Google and write tamaldas.com/Twitter or /LinkedIn or /GitHub, wherever you want to connect with me. Just write it out. I guess I will be sharing the slides again so you don't forget the links, right? So what you need to do? Do the homework I gave you. Make a repository. Use Git commands to push to those repositories. No cheating, no drag and drop, right? Push to those repository. Share it with me. Tag Skepsis or tag me. That's fine. But do those homework. Cool, right? And we're almost at the end of the session. I really don't have a lot much left to say. It's really amazing that people have tuned in. Thanks a lot for tuning in. And trust me, if you have done Git and GitHub in your first or second year, you are like here already. Okay, you are away from the crowd already. You are standing out already. Believe me, it's true. You can find so many people who doesn't care. But again, if you are doing Git and GitHub in your first year or second year, that's really amazing. So yeah, with that said, that's the end of my presentation. If anyone has anything to ask, I'll put this here. So now, if anyone has anything to ask, do ask it. I will be very happy to throw it out. And maybe in will we have more sessions like this on GitHub very soon. I guess your college seniors will inform you shortly. We will have another session. But this year, no swags from GitHub officials. Says sad. True. The reason is people were abusing. That's the reason people were spamming. Right. So that's the reason. You can always have more and more swags later on. Let me just refresh the chat if anyone has anything to say. Yeah, if you like, if my chat is laggy, why we can't have username? Why we can't have username as we like in GitHub? I didn't understand your question. Oh, if you were talking about Git username, we have Git username. If you go to Google, just write on uh, find Git username. How to know Git username? This is how you do this. Git config dash dash list. Let me go to my terminal. You asked a really interesting question. If I paste this here, you will see my username listed out shortly. This is my username. This is my Git username and this is my Git user email. This is not GitHub, right? So that's the thing. You have those here. Anyways, with that said, how to earn big money from open source? We will be covering that in the very next session. I guess 2-3 days later. And you can always earn swags like this too. You all recognize this, right? This is the GitHub logo. So the more you contribute to open source, the more you get swags like this too, right? So with that said, and with all the possibilities out there, I end my presentation. There's nothing more I can show you because this is the very basics of Git and GitHub. So if any questions out there, reach out to me on my socials. Go to twitter.com or whatever you will like and just show me.
If you guys have any questions, then you can just drop them in the chat, or you can raise your hand. Okay, I think I have a question. Devdeep, I have allowed your mic, so you can just unmute yourself and ask your question.
So I have a question which says, is it okay to use the private GitHub email in Git config? Private GitHub email in Git config? Yeah, no worries. You can use that. You can use private GitHub email. Yeah, that works.
Folks, if you have any questions, please do just drop them in the chat. Okay, there is one. What tool you are using to autocomplete the code in terminal?
It's for the theme, it's called Oh My Post. And for the autocomplete, you can just go to YouTube and search. Just go to YouTube. I don't remember the name of the tool. It's a really handy tool. You can just go to a YouTube and just search it, or you can just, if you are more convenient, how do I quit? So you can queue. If you are more convenient, just come here to code dash profile. I guess, yeah, name terminal icon. This is the module I am using for autocomplete. You can just go to YouTube and search about this, right? What is the name of the shell? It's PowerShell. This is PowerShell. This is PowerShell. That's all. It looks different because of this Oh My Posh customization. Just Google Oh My Posh and you will see what it is. It basically makes your PowerShell look nice. That's all. Can you please throw some light on the concept of monorepos? I wish I had that monorepo with me. Let me just show you something. Wait, I'll show you a monorepo. GitHub files, open. Let me present my screen, share your screen, window. Am I presenting the window? No, I am presenting the whole screen. This is visible, right? If you look at this, the concept of monorepo is very simple. You have lot of different products inside one single repository. For example, I have a web app and extension. These are two different products in one single repository. That's exactly what monorepo is. That's all. It's very complicated to handle these monorepos, and that's the reason why people are not using these days, because it's really difficult to scale and do things. If someone is working on the extension team, okay, if the company has hired two developers to work on that extension team, they and me working on the web team, we will be pushing to the same repository again and again. So that's the reason why people are not using monorepo. But again, you can read more about it in the Google. It's free. It's kind of tricky for now. If repo is private, then can we follow the same way to commit? Exactly. You can follow the same way to commit, except as Kajal said, you like others won't be able to see. I won't be able to see. So if you are doing the homework, put it inside the public repo and share it with me.
We have another question over here.
Yeah, I was just about to read. What branches do we generally use in production? Can you explain with your actual production project? Why not? Let me open GitHub or open one of my projects that I am working at. Bio drop. Anyways, let's come to Milan. So, for example, let me show you something. This is a website, milanhub.org. This is another website, beta.milanhub.org. These two are the same website, right? beta.milanhub.org and milanhub.org. If you notice the name, it's called Milan. This is my project, right? These are two same website, but you see this beta thing right here. That's what I am trying to do with branches. Understand this in very simple way. You make some changes. Okay. Let's say tomorrow I wake up and I decide, say this thing will be in orange color. Okay, and I don't want my users to see this in orange color just yet. I want them to wait until I finalize everything. So I want to test it out too. I want to change this color to orange and push it into private people. I want to change this and share it with my group and ask my group, what, how do you think it is? That's where branches come in. What branches basically do is, you have one code right here, you take out a branch and you make changes to this code without this code being affected. This is your another branch, right? You change stuffs in here, you do whatever you want in here, this branch won't be affected. That's the power branch gives you. It basically branches out from one single place and lets you do development independently. That's the power of branches. Let me open my chat again. GitHub suggests to use SSH keys and GPG keys. Can you explain these? I don't really have in-depth concepts of SSH and GPG keys, but I am pretty sure one of them is more secure. I am not sure which one. I am probably using SSH key. If you look at my comments, let me check. Verified, yeah. I am using SSH key along with the fingerprint. It basically lets you, you know, commit stuffs without getting malware practices and stuff. It's not something that you really need to understand as a beginner, to be honest. It's kind of high level thing because in big organizations, someone someone can put a profile picture like me and a name like Tamal Das, and instead of Tamal codes, they can put something like Tamal and 2S, right? They can make a profile like that, and then if they contribute to this project, and I am an admin, I see, okay, Tamal is contributing, let's accept this, right? So that's the reason we have these keys. This verified tag along with these keys shows me that I am verified with this project. In bigger organizations, they will provide you their own keys and stuff. So it's kind of tricky to get your head around, but it basically stops malpractices. SSH is most secure. Yes, exactly, exactly. Thank you, Saurabh, for pointing this out.
Uh, Folks, if you have any more doubts, please just drop them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we'll unmute your mic. I believe there are no doubts anymore. Uh, so please do the homework, guys, that Tamal has given you. And if you face any issues with that, you can either reach out to Tamal on his socials, which were there on for his LinkedIn, Twitter, and or you can reach out to us on a Telegram page, which for the link for which we have pinned up in the chat. If you see over there, there's a link called telegram.me/join Skepsis community, wherein you can find the various channels that we have. One of them being the web development channel, wherein you can drop your chat doubts, and our web development team will be happy to help you out with them. Okay, Tamal, can you please repeat the homework that you had just mentioned?
Yeah, it's very simple. Just make yourself a GitHub repository. As I showed you, use Git commands that GitHub will give you. Understand those Git commands and push anything inside the GitHub repository, or maybe a README file saying, okay, I learned this from today's SKEPSIS session, and this is what I loved about the session. And once you are done, push those to the GitHub and share that link on your socials and just tag us. That's all.
Amazing, amazing. With that, we come to the end of our session. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining in. You can check out the social media links for Skepsis in the pinned comment. We are there on Instagram and Twitter. Also, don't if you haven't yet joined the Telegram group of Skepsis, you can do that by using the link over there. And yes, if you're posting about today's session, please don't forget to tag Tamal as well as Skepsis. Also, yes, one more thing. We will be releasing the recording of today's session on YouTube. The link for YouTube is also there in the chat. So you can just go over there and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also don't forget to press the bell icon to not miss the notification. And yes, of course, there is an exciting announcement for you all. We are planning another session with Tamal, where he'll be diving further into the world of open source to share his insights, and of course about the upcoming about the Hacktoberfest. So to make sure to get the notification for that, please don't forget to follow us on social media on Instagram as well as on Twitter. And of course, don't never miss out any updates that we send on the announcement page in Telegram. And with that, we come to the end of our session. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining in, and we hope to see you all in the next session.